Hi there! Today I'm going to be doing a book review for the book Divergent by Veronica Roth. I'm sorry if it sounds super echoey right now. I'm in the process of moving from one room of my house to the other room of my house. This is my new room, or at least the closet of my new room, and there's nothing in it. So it might sound super echoey because there's nothing to absorb the sound, so sorry if it sounds like we're in a bathroom. But anyway, moving on with the review. So I was super excited to read this after I watched the first Divergent movie. So I've been doing this a little bit backwards. I've been watching the movie and then reading the books. I am in love with both. I really enjoy both, the books and the movie, and I almost kind of see them as like separate things. I don't usually have a problem with movie adaptations. So the synopsis of this book is kind of hard to boil down since I've read all of the books now. We're following this main character, her name is Tris or Beatrice, through her society, which is in the future Chicago, that is completely run down and is bordered off because America has gone through years and years of apocalyptic war, and this community in Chicago is the only known community of humans left in the United States, and they run their society based off of having a system of 5 factions, which each represent a dominant personality or personality trait. You're born into one. When you turn 15, you get to actually pick whether or not you stay in the faction that you were born in, or if you move on to a different faction. You follow her going into her choosing day, which is this day when you actually get to pick that faction that you want to move to, if you want to move. And she's in the most conservative one, which is called Abnegation. That is what I have based my book look off of, is the Abnegation color of gray. Now, if I were actually in Abnegation, I wouldn't be wearing makeup at all, because you're not supposed to be conceited of any kind. You're supposed to be completely selfless, thinking of others before all else and all of that. I definitely would not fit in with all this makeup on, but their color is gray. Each faction has its own color and symbol and like saying, or I don't even know what to call it, a salute, a pledge, a something. So they each have their own thing that they live by. So not so much actually an Abnegation member, but an Abnegation color is gray. So I went with gray for my book look because no makeup is not really a book look. We follow her, she's in Abnegation, and she goes for her choosing day, and both her and her brother actually choose to leave Abnegation, much to their parents' surprise. Tris goes on to Dauntless, and her brother goes on to Erudite. So Dauntless are the like super rowdy, crazy like soldiers of this community. They are trained in combat and they have all the weapons. They run everywhere, or they jump onto moving trains, or from rooftop to rooftop. They're kind of crazy. So it's kind of like a big deal for somebody from Abnegation, where they're super like, you know, help others, you know, don't cause trouble, don't be a nuisance, you know, to this super rowdy, crazy faction. She does this transition. We follow her through her initiation / her training to become Dauntless, because clearly it's a huge transition and she has a lot to learn, because Dauntless are taught from childhood how to fight and how to defend themselves, and protect the community that they live in, because that's their job. They're the military, essentially, of this universe. It's all about her transition into that new faction. Toward the end, we learn a little bit more about government conspiracy that might be happening. Some crazy stuff happens towards the end, but most of this is just her discovering who she is as a Dauntless person coming from Abnegation, and meeting and making a whole bunch of new friends along the way. So my initial thoughts on this book: really good, really riveting. It keeps your attention throughout the entire book. There's always something happening, and most of it is not romantic, but some of it is. I love the characters that Veronica Roth has created. Each one I fell in love with for different reasons. You know, I hated some of them, which is a different form of loving a character. I mean, if a writer can make you hate a character with like a genuine sense of like, I hate this person, and I hope that later on in this book they either die or get slapped or something, that is one of my favorite parts of reading and one of my favorite parts of characters in general. So actually all the characters that I hated, I also loved because it made me hate them. It's a weird relationship that we have. Again, such fantastic characters, really great character development. The characters are very different from each other, which I love in specifically young adult fiction. Sometimes the characters can kind of run together, like they all seem like they're the same person with a slightly different personality. You know, there's a really great variety of characters in this book. Honestly, they kind of read differently, and especially going into the second book / movie, things are way different. I think that people who like it when the movie sticks as close to the book as possible will not enjoy the movie. So if you've read the book and you're thinking about watching the movie, and you're that kind of viewer, it's probably gonna just piss you off a lot, to be totally honest. So I liked that in the movie they made the weapons a little bit more sophisticated than they are in the book, because that makes sense with the universe. As she's figuring out where she fits in Dauntless, she actually learns that she is something called Divergent. They are a threat to society, so she goes through trying to keep this secret and keep it under wraps. So in the movie, I really didn't like that she was kind of helpless without Four. Like, she really needed him to progress in the movie, and in the book she really didn't need him. He was a great resource and he did help her in some ways, but most of the time she was running her own show. Triss is one of my favorite characters. I adore her as a female protagonist. I love that her and Christina, her best friend in Dauntless, who came from Candor, have like a really positive, great relationship. They have really great dialogue. They really support each other as two female characters. It's great to see that kind of interaction. So I love this book for all of those reasons. Pretty much all the reasons I think that a lot of young adult literature kind of blends together and has like the same synopsis and the same main blank slate female characters that are really easy to imprint on. All those things that irritate me about young adult fiction, which doesn't stop me from reading it because I love a good young adult book, Veronica Roth does not do. And so this made this kind of like the perfect young adult read for me, because we had a strong female protagonist who didn't need the support of a male protagonist in order to succeed, although he is there and he supports her, which is great. And he's a fantastic character. He's a really great character. I have no problems with him as a main character or as a love interest. Like, that's really great. Like, he's actually good / healthy for her. He's not detrimental to her life just by being there. So that's also a great refreshing thing about this book in young adult, because this genre happens to oftentimes glorify really unhealthy relationships, which we can all relate to, because definitely when I was a young adult, I'm still a young adult, I guess, but back when I was in high school, I definitely was in a few really unhealthy relationships. So I can relate to that, but it's not something I want to glorify, which in this book she does not do, so I appreciate that. Honestly, it doesn't really matter which way you do it, if you watch the movies and then read the book, or read the book and then watch the movies, because they almost branch off into separate stories. That concludes my book review for the book Divergent by Veronica Roth. I really love it, highly recommend it. If you are into young adult fiction, this is definitely the book for you. If you aren't into young adult fiction, this is like one of the best books you could possibly read as not a young adult fiction reader. It is quite a long read, as you can see. I don't usually rate books, but I am on Goodreads now. I don't usually do like a 5-star rating or anything like that, because I feel like it's really hard to like put the things that are great and bad about a book into one to give it one grading. Like, I would grade the characters and the story and the writing separately if I could. Like, if they gave me a 5-star rating for each one of those sections, that would be fantastic. So overall, I gave this a 5 out of 5 in Goodreads. If I could rate all those separate categories that I was telling you about, I would rate the characters 5 out of 5, I would rate the story 5 out of 5, and I would rate the writing like a 4.5 out of 5, just because it doesn't really challenge you as a reader, but it's not like overwhelmingly simple, and there aren't errors that are just super obvious and annoying, and it gives you such a delicious variety of vocabulary. We're not stuck with the same adjectives throughout the entire book, which I don't need to get into right now. But that's how I would rate the book. I definitely recommend you check it out. I will be reviewing Insurgent and Allegiant very soon. I'll go ahead and work on that for you guys. I have some other updates, but I'll put those in a separate video. Thank you for watching my review of book 1 of the Divergent series, Divergent by Veronica Roth, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!